This video is brought to you by Devout Decals, makers of reusable Catholic art for your home altar, your bedroom, and your home classroom.
What desecrates a sacred place? What desecrates a Catholic church? Now, a Catholic church can formally be removed from or made inappropriate to offer the Mass. There are rituals for this. This happens usually when a Catholic church falls into such disrepair that it can no longer safely be used to offer the Mass, and the cost of rebuilding the place is cheaper than simply repairing it. Or if they're going to sell it and let the building be used for secular, profane purposes, there are rituals bishops will do to prepare the church for its new purpose. And that's bad enough when that has to happen. It usually never happens for good reasons. But what happens when a Catholic church is essentially desecrated in the sense of the term that we're used to using it as? There have been numerous examples of this. Marco Rupnik doing his unspeakably evil things, but with the nuns that he coerced into doing them with, he would sometimes use the altar for these evil deeds, and he would sometimes use Mass implements for these evil deeds. Clearly, the parish has been desecrated. What happens at that point? What happens usually is that a bishop will come in and reconsecrate the place to make it once again suitable for the offering of the holy sacrifice of the Mass. We saw this when a priest foolishly allowed a music video to be filmed in his parish, where the music video was extremely, we'll say, fleshly and impure in nature. This was, of course, done by a pop singer to generate some controversy, which she successfully did. I've reported on all those stories in the past. We have a story today where I doubt you're going to see a reconsecration of this place because it was done with the full knowledge and consent of the bishop. Let's go to LifeSite News for this headline. Catholic college allows female Anglican, quote, priest to celebrate, quote, Eucharist inside Basilica. St. Vincent College, a Benedictine school in Pennsylvania, allows the Anglican Church in North America to hold on campus its 2024 Provincial Assembly, which included Eucharistic, quote unquote, services with women, quote, priests inside St. Vincent Basilica. Now, this group of Anglicans are themselves a splinter organization. They splintered off of the regular Anglican Church over its handling of the James Martin sin and its toleration of it and its promotion of it, which you might think would be, hey, these Anglicans might be on the right track where they should be invited home to Rome. Well, they kind of threw that all away when they decided to we'll say, play fast and loose with ordination, in it more so than Anglicans have traditionally been, because remember, the Catholic Church has formally declared that Anglican holy orders are null and void. Now, that having been said, it is true that many Anglican bishops and priests have sought out valid holy orders from typically schismatic groups that have valid Catholic orders. But in general, their orders are considered null and utterly void. Now, this splinter group's problem is compounded by the fact that they, when it comes to the ordination of the ladies, that whole question, they decided to leave that up to individual dioceses of the Anglican Church to deal with themselves. So in some places, you may get entirely old-fashioned high church Anglicans who sound in every way Catholic. They're priests who are men. But in other places, in that same splinter group, you will find deaconettes and priestesses and the rest of it. You begin to see where the problem is. And that problem came to a Catholic college with the consent of the local ordinary, because of course it did. From the article, quote, a Catholic college in Pennsylvania allowed a group of Anglicans, including women, quote, priests, to celebrate an, quote, Anglican Eucharist inside a historic basilica. Back in June, St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, permitted the Anglican Church in North America to hold on campus its 2024 Provincial Assembly, which included, quote, Eucharistic services inside St. Vincent Basilica. Hundreds of Anglican clergy and laity from across the globe, including female, quote, priests and deacons, gathered at the school that is home to the oldest Benedictine monastery in the United States. The event was held from June 25th to the 28th, including liturgy, prayer, talks, and the choosing of their new, quote-unquote, archbishop according to the assembly schedule of events. Throughout the assembly, quote, Anglican Eucharists were celebrated inside the student chapel, campus gymnasium, and most glaringly in St. Vincent Basilica. Impressively clear photos from the June 26th, quote, Eucharist held in the Basilica show female Anglican, quote, priests processing into the church, carrying the gospel and celebrating the liturgy with their male counterparts. In other parts of the assembly, the female, quote, Reverend Sue Curry led the laity in, quote, an invitation to pray with Jesus. And the ACNA held a conclave to choose a, quote, new archbishop, Steve Wood, from the Basilica crypt. Unlike his predecessor, Wood supports women's, quote, ordination. The ACNA is a splinter group that separated from the mainstream Anglican Communion in 2009 in protest of its tolerance of the James Martin parody of holy matrimony and female, quote, bishops. The ACNA, however, leaves the question of ordaining women as, quote, priests and deacons up to the discretion of each diocese. This year's assembly was not the first time the college allowed the ACNA to use its campus for the event. The 2014 Provincial Assembly was also held at St. Vincent, and video from that year's event shows female, quote, priests celebrating the, quote, closing Eucharist. At that time, then Archbishop Robert Duncan credited his friendship with then Archabbot Douglas Nowicki for being allowed to use the campus for that year's assembly. St. Vincent Basilica also appears on the heretical New Ways Ministry list of James Martin-friendly parishes. The assembly occurred just months after Pope Francis allowed the Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, to say, quote, Mass at the Basilica of St. Bartholomew in Rome. The pontiff himself led an ecumenical Vespers service along with Welby that same month in the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls in Rome. End quote. So there's some problems here with that. But when essentially false religion and its offerings are done in a Catholic church, it desecrates the place. That's one of the problems with that. And so what's to be done in that situation? Well, Canon 1210 states that the only things that promote or exercise religion, worship, or piety are allowed in a sacred place, and anything that is not in line with the holiness of the place is forbidden. That means stolen sacraments are not permitted there. The outright rejection of basic dogma and doctrines of the church, like who can be ordained or not, are not permitted there. This place has been desecrated. In fact, it's been desecrated, it sounds like, over and over and over again for the last 10 years. After all, that place is known as being very friendly to the James Martin crowd and their desire to change Catholic teaching on morality. One wonders what kind of homilies are offered from the ambo at that place. And so, what needs to be done here? Well, again, Canon 1212 states that sacred places lose their dedication or blessing if they have been destroyed in large part or have been turned over permanently to profane use by decree of the competent ordinary or in fact. And so I'm going to give you a more little expansive definition here or declaration here and say that place has in fact been turned over for profane uses. And so what needs to happen is the local bishop needs to close the actual place down, bring in possibly some exorcists, and then rededicate the place. And never let this happen again. After all, it's bad enough that the Anglicans are using it, but then you have New Ways Ministry, a dissident group that has for decades flaunted the church's teaching on basic Catholic moral questions. That needs to happen, but it probably won't. Are you surprised by this? Does this story surprise you in the slightest? Let me know in the comments, please. And also hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So just sharing this on social media, that helps too. And if you've ever thought about supporting the work of Return to Tradition, it would be greatly appreciated. Options in the description box below, including Patreon, Subscribe Star, or the join button. You get early access to some videos, access to the patron-only Discord, that kind of thing. And it keeps these daily messages coming. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.